So this video I know is going to be controversial because it is attacking probably the most pervasive view on personality type compatibility that there is in the MBTI community on the internet, although it does not align with anything that anyone else has ever said. It doesn't align with John Beebe's view or Dario Nardi's view or anyone's view, the OP view, the socionics view. It's literally this person's own view of compatibility that makes a lot of sense mathematically if you don't actually think about it or observe in reality what people are looking for in their communications, what they're looking for in terms of a compatible match. So this theory states that you are most compatible with people who have opposite cognitive functions to you. People who are, for example, your shadow type or your super ego type. And I'm going to show you here why I think that is completely incorrect and why super ego relationships are actually extraordinarily destructive. I call these mutually assured destruction relationships rather than the third most compatible. And according to this theory, we're most compatible, like you fit like together with people who have opposite cognitive functions to you. Like TI fits with TE and FE seeks out and wants the input of FI. But it doesn't actually make sense, because when you think about how our personalities work, it's basically like choosing handedness as a child. You have a natural proclivity towards one hand or the other, and then over time you exercise this hand more, so it becomes even stronger. Our personalities work in a similar way, where you have certain natural cognitive preferences towards certain types of information, because what these preferences are is just paying attention to certain types of information over others, because we cannot pay attention to all information simultaneously and equally. So there is a cost of this specialization in our minds, to where we choose our primary mode of perceiving information and making judgments based on this information, and then our minds devalue the other processes and other modes of perceiving the world. We devalue them in our minds, and those are our shadow functions. We still have them, but for us it's kind of like it's information that's less important. So why would you think that you would be most compatible with someone who speaks in a language of cognitive preferences that is completely opposite to your own? There's going to be a problem in communication, because this person is paying attention to and valuing opposite information to you. So I made a post a while back that I think a lot of people didn't understand. What I was trying to explain is this cost of specialization in our minds, of if the trickster function, if the seventh function had greater awareness, it would literally block our ability to do the parent or auxiliary function. So I have here the list of functions that if they were both present equally in the room, of your mind, they would just cancel each other out, because you can't do both at once. So for example, TI and FI, and this is why super ego relationships they're not compatible at all. It's really a terrible idea, because what FI seeks to do is, it's a very personal, it's a very subjective function. It looks at the object in relation to itself. Like, well, do I value the object? How do I feel about the object? What does this mean to me? Whereas TI literally seeks to do the opposite. It seeks to completely remove the self from the object, to understand the object without myself present. So these two cannot interact together in the minds. They don't understand each other. And same with like TE and FE. These functions would literally block each other, because you cannot equally pay attention to like what are the social norms, and how can I fit myself into this situation to abide by these social norms and be one with the group, while simultaneously trying to create an efficient system that breaks possibly with these social norms, because it doesn't make sense, because it's not the most effective way of going about something. They block each other out. Same with SENNE. I cannot pay attention to like the object in present reality and what it is if I'm over here thinking about what it could be. Okay, it's what is versus what could be. They block each other out. SINNI. SI looks at instances individually. Okay, this instant happened, we wrap it up. It's a separate instance from this one over here that happens. Separate, wrap it up. Whereas NI looks at the underlying pattern between them. It's not looking at separate instances individually. It's looking at them like as a holistic pattern. And so they cannot both be present because they would block each other out. And this is why, like, you can never truly develop the trickster function. All it does is create double binds in your mind. So this, it creates a massive problem in communication and compatibility, which is why, like, a lead TI is not compatible with a lead FI. A lead TE is not compatible really with a lead FE. They really tend to frustrate each other more than anything. Although in a business relationship, I've seen these to be extremely useful to each other, which is why I chose my business partner to be an ENTP, because his lead NE, I need it. I recognize that it's a weak spot, and I'm always realizing that he sees a different piece of the chessboard that I see. And I'm always trying to look through his eyes, and it's helpful to me that we have the common elements of TI to communicate through, but I never truly can see what he sees. I just have to kind of trust it in some sense, but then I'm always reining it back with like, but that's not practical right now. We can't do that right now. Like, he brought up something the other day and I'm like, okay, well that means that I would literally have to do this, and it's impossible. It's like, oh, okay, so not that one. But you know, that type of relationship where two functions are opposite but two are the same in a higher position, where you have a common language that you can at least communicate through, can be extremely useful to a business relationship if you want to get further, you know. And that's why I chose my CTO to be an ENTJ, because he's seeing yet another piece of the chessboard, but I can communicate with him through the common language of SE and NI. And so we've got, you know, and I have an ESTJ to help me with social, because, you know, that's a missing element of SI in a business organization. But in terms of a romantic partnership, oh my God, my my business partners and he would drive me absolutely up the wall, because it just like we're blocking each other, and it's frustrating. And it's like, well, why can't you just let this be? Well, why can't you just let this be? That's how these functions will communicate with each other when they're in a higher position. Now, TI does tend to respect TE and vice versa, although there is some disrespect that goes on between the two, and FI tends to like just like respect FE tends to respect FI, but FI comes with TE. So like an high FI can be with a high FE user, but like if the TE is in a higher position, then these two clash on a much more real level. And I hope this made sense to people. I think that advising people to enter into these types of relationships as the most compatible is just like dangerous and destructive, because a lot of people who are seeking this information, they don't have a lot of maybe romantic experience, but they're going to find that they're, you know, just kind of like go with your gut and find that you're naturally drawn to certain types of people who are basically speaking the same language that you are. And so I'm not advocating only for like same type relationships, but I think that people will find that, okay, the most important element to a successful relationship is like, okay, your emotional health and whether you are currently like happy in your life. That makes a huge difference. Like focusing on attachment styles, but also like communication is major. So why would we advocate for the type of a relationship where communication is going to be a lot more strained, and you feel like the other person isn't really receiving your message because you're saying one thing, but then they're filtering it through their own mind and spitting out something else, and you're like, no, that's not it though. Okay? And it's extremely useful to understand types so that we can realize these differences in perceptions and realize that, okay, this person's not stupid. They just have a different way of looking at the world, which I am not privy to. They're seeing a different part of the chessboard, but I really don't think it's ideal as far as a romantic partner goes. Yes, you will push each other, but you're really pushing buttons more than you are growth in each other, because real growth comes for most people. I think they would attest that from feeling understood and accepted. And once you feel that like different parts of you that like maybe you reject are understood and accepted, you more freely express them, you more completely become yourself. And that's where growth takes place. It takes place in that world of emotional safety where you don't feel like who you are fundamentally is going to be rejected by this person. So, yeah, that's all I got on that. It's something that has bothered me for a really long time, and I've wanted to speak about it, but of course I was afraid to, because I know this is going to be so controversial, but I'm trying to move things in the direction of people's natural preferences in like accepting who they are, accepting themselves, growing into like their true selves instead of trying to develop something that's not really present, So please support this channel by liking and subscribing, and check out the Type Match app, where you are free to match with any type of personality that you feel you are compatible with, although we do provide compatibility scores for the Big Five and for MBTI to provide some sort of guidance. You can filter for free by any personality type and see who you best align with. Thanks.
Your personality is unique. It's hard to find someone that understands you. Try dating using personality type matching. Find out who you're compatible with using Myers-Briggs and Big Five personality scores. Download Type Match and start dating by personality type compatibility today. Type Match, available on App Store and Play Store.